Hey everyone, I'm Mangu, and this is another Inktober prompt. Today, day 14, is clock. This one was pretty tricky. Clock. Do I just draw a clock? A pocket watch? I kind of wanted to go with an Alice in Wonderland theme from the get-go, but I thought it might fall into the fan art category. I started thinking of ways to illustrate time, or maybe someone being clocked, like being hit. I also thought of a speedrunner or time attack mode in a video game, but that was kind of hard to illustrate and would probably be just a drawing of someone playing a game. I let this thumbnail sit for a while when I was doing my first run-through of the thumbnail prompt list, and had to come back to it later since I was getting kind of hung up on it. After I was done thumbnailing the rest of them, I came back to it and ended up just drawing someone clocking a track runner like they were trying to beat a personal record or training. When I got to this prompt though, I realized it would end up looking too much like Exhausted, where I had my original characters jogging through a park, and I thought I could maybe even bring back my original characters and have Usabel timing Corinne, but I just didn't want to do another running in the park illustration. I also had a hard time with that idea since those characters wouldn't really be in that situation normally. Corinne runs as a hobby, but she's not competitive with it, and really only takes Usabel as a way to share that hobby with her, and to get her out of the apartment on occasion. After a lot of deliberation, I just said, screw it, I'm going to pay some homage to Alice in Wonderland. I love fantasy-themed stories, and Alice in Wonderland is one of my favorites. I also love reimagined versions of old bedtime stories like Little Red Riding Hood, and even have my own version. I don't know if I'd share it though, since it's very unfinished and kind of embarrassing. I also got frustrated since it's become a bit of a craze to rewrite these type of stories lately, and I didn't want to come across like I was just jumping on that bandwagon, even if I could prove how long I'd actually been working on it. Actually, as a result, I've avoided most of these reimaginings, like watching them or reading them, because I didn't want it to influence my own writing, so I haven't actually been keeping up with it. So I ended up going with the White Rabbit, as you can see. My husband made a suggestion to make the frame the pocket watch, which was a pretty good idea. And then I got the idea to put Wonderland inside the watch and have the White Rabbit kind of looking out, almost inviting you in. I had his hand extended at first, but it almost didn't look quite right, so I just decided to give him a pocket watch, and I realized that looks a little weird that he's holding a pocket watch while being inside of a pocket watch. Little pocket watch inception for you there. He's not blatantly the White Rabbit. He's wearing a bunny clip and has a white puffball on his keychain that kind of give the rabbit vibe. He also doesn't seem to be affiliated with the Queen of Hearts either. It's really the Wonderland setting that makes him the White Rabbit, but I'm kind of okay with that. It should be easy to get the idea that this is Wonderland and he represents the White Rabbit just by looking at it. At least I hope it is. Inking was actually pretty tedious for this one, and I ended up having to use some smaller nibs so that way the lines wouldn't look too thick in the background. I had to get really close, so I recorded that with my phone. Hopefully it isn't too shaky and dark. I was really tired and trying to concentrate, but I wanted to show the inking for this without my head being in the way. I wanted to portray the wonder and whimsy of Wonderland, so I was trying to think of things that were Wonderland staples and also things that didn't make sense. So I made a little tea lake with some sugar cubes and little cookies or cakes floating in and around it. I also gave it a tea set waterfall. I don't know how it stays up there, but it's Wonderland after all. I made the pathway checkered like chess and tried to pepper the landscape with unfamiliar mushrooms that were far too large and possibly homes to a dormouse. It reminded me of the mushroom forest from the first prompt, and I toyed with the idea of putting the boy in there somewhere, but he would have had to have been so small it wouldn't really come through. And I already had the White Rabbit addressing the viewer, so I couldn't have them interacting. But this is fine. So I was actually able to get almost all of the Copics in this recording. Just a little bit at the end where I was coloring in the pocket watch lid, the battery died. That marker is dying also, and it ended up streaking, but I went over it with another light gray and it kind of softened it a bit, but I didn't get the recording for that. I love all the mushroom designs, and the tea lake came out better than I thought. The pocket watch frame was a great idea, and I had a hard time with the chain at first, but I got the hang of it. This is actually my first time really drawing a chain now that I think about it, especially one this big. Despite having Wonderland-based original characters, I don't actually have a White Rabbit character, and I kind of like the way he came out, so I might play around with this design sometime later for it. All in all, it came out better than I expected, and pretty good considering it was a very last-minute complete overhaul for the idea. I didn't even really thumbnail this one, and it was hard fitting the White Rabbit into the picture actually, without drawing him kind of small or just standing there. That's why it helps to plan things out. And I really like the way the frame is broken in this one. if you can even call that the frame, since technically it's already broken with the watch frame. Anyway, hopefully I can continue with these daily videos. I'm having a little bit of a hard time with my wrist. I might end up having to take a day or two off, but even if I do, I'll try to put them all together in one video so they aren't missing in the series. But it all really just depends on how my wrist is feeling. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you come back for tomorrow's prompt week. Bye!